Season 2 of GoBig Show is dropping in the new year. What can fans expect?
Mm, I mean, you can definitely expect everything to be bigger. Okay. I mean, the motto of the show is go big or go home, and definitely the acts have gone bigger this season. I think the level of talent, the level of entertainment, the level of danger, all of that was ramped up this year. And I think in this season. So I think you can definitely expect the show itself to have gone even bigger.
And you've done it all throughout your career. What initially made you want to be a part of this show?
I was curious about the show because it was so different. It's one thing for the majority of the competition shows that are out there are much more performing arts based. So they're either singing or dancing. And I loved that this was so different than that. And I loved that this was an exploration rather than exploring the performing arts. It's more like exploring human limits within the context of entertainment. So what makes us feel, what gives us big feelings, what is an act that isn't necessarily just entertaining in terms of music and dance or singing and dance, but rather what else is out there that feels like we can be inspired by people doing crazy, wild, superhuman things.
We have TPain joining the judging panel this year. How did that change the dynamic amongst the judges, and what was it like getting to work with him?
I mean, definitely when you bring someone else and someone new and someone different into any dynamic, any group dynamic, it's going to change. And the way that I feel that we gelled as a panel of judges, it felt it honestly feels in many ways much more, what's the word that I want to use? Everybody's contributing
Hmm.
because Snoop, for example, has his own personality and his own stardom, and he's a world icon, and sometimes there's that has with it its own dynamic, and even myself, like fangirling. And I think we on this panel we are all fans of each other, and there's much more of a symbiosis amongst us in a way. I normally describe it as like the Breakfast Club, if you remember that movie.
Yeah.
It's like this very crazy, wild, diverse group of characters who all get thrown together into Saturday detention, and then they make it so much fun, even though they're so different. So that's sort of how I describe our dynamic.
And in season 1, we see you take part in some of the acts. What has that experience been like for you? And is there anything that you will say no to?
There are definite things that I say no to, absolutely. But there are many and most that I say yes to. And you'll see on season 2, there is a lot of not only invitations and accepting invitations to participate, but there are a couple times, especially for me and Rosario, where we're like, could we do this? You're not inviting us, but like, could we learn how to do this? Because it looks super awesome.
Uh, with this being such a unique show, when you look back at season 1, did anything surprise you about the experience? What was the biggest takeaway?
To me, what surprises me again is just the human spirit, and also too sometimes what feels like random. Like I'm looking at some of these acts and asking, like, how did you think that you, not only how could you do this, but like how did you even think you wanted to try doing this? Like how is this a thing that you just like, how were you inspired to try this in the first place? So it has definitely outbigged itself. But I thought the first season I was like, okay, that's really big, and it will be similar. But everybody upped their game, including the level of talent among the contestants.
Speaking of that talent, do you have a favorite act from season 1? Is there anything you can tease about the acts that we can expect from season 2?
Mm. One of my favorite acts of season 1 was definitely Curtis Downs. I loved him. He's from the Nitro Circus. He was just such a fantastic talent. and definitely thrilling, and definitely I had so much grit, and I was so proud for him for his performance. Second season, I don't want to give away too much, but I will say I definitely have some favorites. One of whom you'll get to see even in the first episode of the second season. There's a lot of talent. Professor Splash is such a fun character on the show, and you'll get to see him in the first episode. So yeah, there are definitely ones that I tend to imprint on and really root for throughout the show.
For many of these acts, this is a breakout moment for them. When you look at your own career, is there a standout moment?
Oh my God, there have been so many standout moments, but really, for all of us, what you look at is that time where your preparation and hard work meets the opportunity that's in front of you, and that is where a lot of these, acts really find themselves in this moment on this show, because for a lot of these acts, there isn't a typical, okay, you're a musician or you're a singer or you're a dancer, here is the circuit, that you work in and that you try to work your way up within. It's like, well, how is there, like, for a daredevil, like where's daredevil school, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? So for a lot of these acts, they don't get as much visibility, and they are definitely getting it on this show.
And then final question for you. You do so much in your career outside of this show. What can fans expect from you in 2022?
Ooh, 2022. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on. I have a couple of music projects still that I'm wanting to get out there that I'm excited about. I'm developing a musical that I'll keep working on throughout the year. I have some movie stuff that I can't talk about, but that's really, really fun. Righteous Gemstones will be airing as well in January in 2022. So that's exciting. And what else? What else? And then obviously, I mean, I'm going to knock on wood here and say, like, another season to Go Big would
Mm.
be awesome.